Update and new details on the Scott Bloomquist crash on this episode of Taking Off. Hi, I'm Dan Milliken, and we've got new info on the Scott Bloomquist crash. In our weekly recap video we just put out, the crash had just happened. It was breaking news, and now we know a little bit more. Here are the details. On August 16th at about 7:15 a.m. local time at a farm near Mooresburg, Tennessee, a Piper J3C-65 Cub November 21811 was destroyed when it impacted a barn. Scott Bloomquist has been confirmed as the non-certificated pilot and the only one that was on board. Scott Bloomquist was 60 years old and did not hold any pilot certificate or FAA medical. According to some reports, Scott had been diagnosed with prostate cancer and began treatments in July of 2023. For those jumping to conclusions and speculation, keep in mind, according to the CDC, the 5-year relative survival rate is 97%. A prostate cancer diagnosis is hardly a death sentence. In reports from last summer, it was revealed that the disease was caught early, giving Scott really good odds. And Scott was aiming to compete again in major series competitions later this year. To jump to conclusions about why he crashed is way too early, and to jump to conclusions and then be wrong can bring a lot of pain to the family and friends. Let's wait for the real investigation. There's just way too many unknowns. Bloomer was 60 years old and is considered the greatest dirt late model driver, the GOAT. More than 600 victories during a 40-year career. Didn't matter the pit crew, the racetrack, the location, all he would do is win. He was a larger-than-life figure in the racing sport and polarized people. He was unfiltered, unpredictable, honest, transparent. He kept people on their toes. He is survived by his mother and father, his sister, and his daughter. Here's what we do know. The airplane was the venerable Piper J3 Cub. It was built before and during World War II through 1947. Nearly 20,000 were manufactured. It's an incredibly simple airplane. It was made as a trainer. It was a two-person tandem with high wings and struts. It was lightweight and easy to handle and a great plane for short field performance. The iconic Cub is painted yellow, or also known as Lock Haven yellow. I've flown into Lock Haven, Piper Field in Pennsylvania, where many of the Cubs were built. There were military variants, and today the Cub is still highly sought after, and modern, heavily modified versions are built today by several different companies and independent builders. The Cub that Scott owned and was flying had its registration canceled back in August of 2012. It's unknown whether the plane was in airworthy condition. For certified aircraft like the J3 Cub, it's required to have an annual inspection performed on the aircraft by a licensed mechanic and approved by somebody with inspection authorization. For aircraft not certified like home built, it's still required to be inspected annually, but the procedure is called a condition inspection. Regardless, in the U.S., like an automobile, airplanes need to be looked at once a year. Investigators will be looking at the condition of the airplane to determine if there was anything mechanical that might have caused or contributed to the crash. This particular Cub had been built in 1938 and was powered by a Continental with 65 horsepower. Facts on the crash. The airplane hit the side of a barn and a post-crash fire ensued. The airplane remained intact. The fire consumed the cockpit and the passenger cabin area. The weather at the time of the crash was being reported at nearby Morel Airport as few clouds at 4,500 feet and no reported winds. The density altitude at nearest meteorological station was about 1,900 feet. The barn looks to be located just off the runway. We don't know if he was taking off or landing or what phase of flight he was in. Concerning Scott's flying without a certificate, the question I see a lot is that legal? Well, when the government gives you a privilege, a license, it doesn't fall under criminal codes, but rather administrative law, and they can revoke those privileges. The FAA, if they investigate and find out, the harshest thing they can do is take away the privilege, the certificate. If the FAA got a call that John Doe was flying the pattern at the local airport and didn't have a certificate, There's really nothing the FAA can do because their enforcement is limited to revocation of the privilege. So people do fly without a pilot certificate. And as we saw last week in the Philip McPherson indictment, there is a criminal code for knowingly and willfully serving as an airman without the airman certificate. It's 49 U.S. Code 46306, paragraph B7. Usually this won't be charged until there's a problem. A person flying without a certificate kills someone or causes significant damage. The U.S. Attorney's Office is too busy to chase down individuals who are flying without a certificate. For me, I'll avoid the argument of governmental overreach with licensing and certifications versus freedom. What I do know is that as I've trained for different certifications and endorsements, I've become a better pilot. Knowing I have a check ride coming up, I study, I train, and I get checked by an examiner. Personally, I want to be a safe pilot, so I will be a legal pilot. I will be more than that, though. I'll be a proficient pilot, constantly training. That's my takeaway on this whole issue. Thanks for watching this update on Scott Bloomquist. Please visit our sponsors like 67 Designs. They make incredible mounts for your phone, tablets, and cameras, for the plane, the car, or even your boat. Check them out at 67d.com. Made in the USA, they're not just cheap imports with a label slapped on. And Marshall Protective Services, mpsprotects.com. Links are below and to our other sponsors. And if you haven't watched our recap on this week's aviation news, you can click right here to catch up. Thanks for supporting the channel, and remember, superior judgment trumps superior skills. We'll see you soon. Take care.